Welcome back to the Social Seller Podcast with Conor Paulsen, where we interview the world's highest quality communicators, professionals, business owners, creatives, and everything in between. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. If you're a high quality communicator, there's a good chance you're living a lot happier life, but you're also bringing those opportunities into your life almost like a magnet. My guarantee is that on this show, we only interview people that I, one, look up to, and two, that I know are going to continue to kill the game for years to come, and I want to make sure they're on your radar. But what I've learned is by asking the best questions, we get the best responses, and that's what the highest quality communicators, our social sellers, are all about. Let's hop inside to the Social Seller Podcast. So what I hear you saying is find someone that's successfully doing it and watch their stuff. Do your research, right? Look into reviews. Like, look at what people's success has been with them. And then once you see it, you vibe with the person. Like, this is what I look at when I'm doing coaches, or if I'm going to consume, if I'm going to buy a course and do it, like, I'm looking into that person because I'm about to dedicate 50, 100, whatever, 200 plus hours to this. And I want to make sure I'm getting my money's worth. But I love that. And you can look on YouTube for some of the baseline foundational truths of crypto, and I would recommend that. Like, look up what are the biggest crypto mistakes before you get into it. Obviously there's traditional, like, don't act emotional. Like, if you get in and you just put I'm gonna just sum it up for you quick. If you wanted to just be a part of the wave so you don't feel like you're left behind, and you have $100 to spare, put $100 into like what these videos are saying, and I think you're gonna agree, and this is what all my friends have said too. You're playing the long game. But put in Bitcoin or Ethereum and just sit. You're not going to touch it for 15 years. Like, you're $100. Like just that.
My Shiba investment, like, it gets emotional. I was a little emotional today, and I've been doing this for 7 years, guys. And I got emotional. And I was like, oh my God, it's down 30%. Like, my portfolio went from 25,000 to 15,000 in a day. I was like, oh my God, should I pull out? But that's when I had to, like, kind of reconnect with my higher sources. And I FaceTimed them. I was like, oh, like, what's going on? Like, why is it doing this? It's like, look, bro, chill. You're good. It shot up in a high percentage, 2,200% in a week. It's down 30%. That's nothing. Relax. Like, you're good.
Straight up.
So it's like good to have those high sources, but at the end of the day, it's not like a lot of you watching this are probably like, okay, how can I connect with Conor? How can I connect with Colt? Like, you need to invest in yourself. Like, I'm really close with one of my students, Tristan, because he has invested so much money into me. Like, he basically said, like, look, Colt, I'm fucking serious. I will invest and put in thousands of dollars to learn from you. And it's like, okay, like, this guy went balls deep into my programs, into my trainings. Like, he's serious. I just want to call him now. I want to see how he's doing, because it's not like I genuinely don't care about people that aren't paying for my stuff, but it's like when you're putting up money, you like
value
that,
your time. That's it.
I understand that, like, okay, you have things that are going on in your life. You have rent to pay. You have maybe kids to feed if you have kids. You have to eat every night, stuff like that. So just like there's people out there that want all this free knowledge, and it just doesn't work like that. The world that we're in, like, I really hope it did, or I really hope that it worked like that, but I invested over $10,000 just to learn how to trade Forex. And then that brought into, like, cryptos, and cryptos went into, like, these other small cryptos that I'm investing in that made me a lot of money. And then I got connected with higher sources because I was a more quality individual, and just little things like that.
Amen. And a huge takeaway there is being able to spend money personally and or maybe out of your company, regardless. But I think both is important for coaches and for training and investing, again, bringing it full circle, in ourselves, like you said, right? It's the best and smartest investment we can always make. And that could be buying a $10 book, right? Read The Go-Giver.
That's
Incredible.
The thing too, I was just going to say is, like, you guys shouldn't be like, oh, I want to invest all of a sudden, because when you see somebody else making money, you're immediately, like, comparing their lifestyle to yours, and, like, you're not the same as anyone. What you need to do is level yourself up first, because that's going to put you in circumstances and situations to make you a more quality person. Like, it's not like I'm making 6+ figures a year all of a sudden. Like, I made myself into the person that attracts 6 figures to come into my bank account.
Yep.
It's not like this shit just happens overnight. Like, you really need to work on yourself and figure out, like, that you love yourself, that you're able to be willing to do this. Because I always ask myself, like, why am I not a millionaire yet? The universe knows that I am not capable of handling $1 million+. Like, nowadays I have $1 million in assets, but before I was always asking, like, why do I not have $1 million?
Yeah.
It's because I could not handle it. I was going to go buy a Ferrari. I was going to go like do all this stuff that's going to waste my money. Now I have the mentality. It's like, okay, what can I do with my money to make more money? I've been through all that stuff where it's like, I want to wear all the nicest designer clothes. I want to do this. I want to do that to flex on that girl. Now it's like, okay, I need to think about the next 5 to 10 years, the next 10 to 20 years. How am I going to retire my dad? How am I going to make sure my kids are good? How am I going to actually bring back to the community and make sure like everyone's feeding off my knowledge and actually gaining from it? Little stuff like that. But it's all about just like really, really understanding what you want out of life. And you can't figure that out until like you become the best version of yourself and just constantly working on becoming that.
Right. And that's the beauty of it. Once you get going in it, it starts to kind of get, I don't want to say addicting, but you experience the first feelings of momentum, and that's a new feeling. Mm-hmm. I know it was for me when I first felt it. And it felt like I wanted more. And then the more I consumed, I felt like this thing was faster and faster. And then all of a sudden I started noticing like the world was changing around me. Like I started dressing nicer. I dressed the part of who I saw myself as. Like the college, Monday through Friday, almost always you're going to see me in a collared shirt, right? My style has definitely gotten relaxed coming to San Diego because and then especially with COVID, you only have to, look good from your top of your stomach up, depending on your height. and so, yeah, it's worth it. And there's so many ways to get into these opportunities. Something that interests me is like, what could you help describe your biggest loss, like in investments, whether it was the Forex or crypto, like straight up, and just talk us in like what happened, what got you there. But like, because what I learned in my research is that if you're going to take it seriously and you get to a certain point, if you're not just going to play the long-term game, but you're going to kind of try to play on some of these, wins with 2,000% weeks.
Yeah, I got it.
It's
right
riskier
here.
stuff. Yeah. I would just love to hear it.
Yeah. I remember, this is when I was trading a $5,000 account, and I took that $5,000 account to $10,000 in 2 days trading. I was trading Bitcoin. Like, there's where you can invest into Bitcoin and put a certain amount and trade it, or there's margin trading. So there's like brokers that you could trade with where you can margin trade, where I can basically have a $5,000 account. I can do a certain lot size, and every point that the market goes up, I'm going to gain like 10 cents, 20 cents, a dollar, whatever it may be. But I basically took a $5,000 account to $10,000 in 2 days. I was like, do you know what? I can take this account from $10,000 to $20,000 in 2 days if I really want. I risked it. I got too greedy on that trade. Didn't have a stop loss for my trades. I woke up the next morning, the whole $10,000 was gone. And it's just because like when you first get that boost of energy where you're like, and this is what a lot of investors get, they're like, oh, like I'm doing good. I did 5,000, 10,000. Like, I'm a god. I'm feeling real good. Like, let's go to the next level. Like, let's get it up.
I just experienced this.
And a lot of people with investing, they're not complacent. You need to like take those steps and be like, all right, like I took $5,000 to $10,000. Let me take 5,000 out and play with that 5,000 I have. But at the same time, let me like not risk as much. Let me only risk 10% of my capital. But I remember I took that $10,000 loss. Woke up the next morning, I started bawling my eyes out. And this was only like 3 years ago when I first moved to Park 12 in San Diego, and I was crying. I was just like, damn, like you feel horrible when you lose $10,000 in front of your eyes overnight. Like, I just remember that feeling, and what I really experienced, like I had to experience that feeling and remember for future references. Like now when I trade, I know how to control my emotions. I know how to control my greed so that doesn't happen again. But I had to experience that certain emotion so I can remember those emotions in the future so I don't make that same mistake again. But that $10,000 loss really messed me up. And like it hurt, but at the same time I was like, all right, I know it's fine. Like I'm going to make that money back.
Yep. I love that you share that. What are some of the most common mistakes that you see happen when someone's getting into crypto?
Not like, mainly my main expertise is trading Forex and indices, but a lot of people are greedy. They're literally comparing their lifestyle to somebody else's results, but they don't understand that, like, I'm trading with $100,000. These people are trading with a couple $100. So their account isn't going to be able to manage the margin isn't going to be able to manage the lot sizes and things like that I'm doing. So they're seeing like, oh, he's doing $10,000 returns in a day. Like, I can do that as well. They're trying to compare their chapter 1 to my chapter 20, but they don't see all the success or all the mistakes I went through, all the trials and errors, all the things that I had to go through that they haven't currently gone through. So it's like the biggest thing is you can never compare yourself to somebody else thinking like, oh, I'm going to be on that level too. Like, don't get me wrong. You guys can outwork me. You can be a lot further than I am as a trader if you really want, but you have to really work on it every single day for hours throughout the day. Like when I first started taking off, and this is the way that I look at business, trading, whatever it may be, is it's like a plane taking off. When a plane has to get off the ground, it can't get off the ground at 25% power. Like it needs to go 100% power all the fucking way. But when that plane gets off the ground and it's at like a certain altitude, it can pull the engines back, the thrusters back to about 50%. Same thing with business. Like when you're first starting a business trading, you need to go 100%. And once you're at a level where you're 6 to 12 months in and you're making money, you have a network, you're getting sales from whatever product you're selling. If you're doing that, then you're like, okay, like I can cool down a little. Like, let me take myself out to dinner here. Let me like not work as much. So that's the same thing with me. It's like I had to go 100%. And once I did that, once I built my network and stuff like that, I was like, all right, let me cool down a little. I don't have to work as hard. I can just post something on my Instagram story and I'm going to have clients sign up for my business. I have the knowledge on how to trade now. Like, I'm not going to be like emotional and close the trade early. I know that if I hold this trade, I'll make $1,000 versus if I close it right now, I'll make $200. So little stuff like that's like, you just need to go fucking hard, man. Real hard.
In business, in life, self-development, investing in ourselves.
Yeah.
There's so many ways. And I have you ever heard the saying, what is it? Grind in your 20s, invest in your 30s, and live it up from your 40s and beyond. Mm-hmm. And I, to some degree, take it a little seriously, right? Because it's like we have the energy now, mm-hmm. right? Oh, yeah. Life happens, so right? We have in life's baggage, not baggage in a bad way, a neutral way. You know, we get married in our 30s, potentially, or maybe you do in your 20s. You get married, you have kids, like the unexpected happens, you start going on family vacations, these expenses come up, but most importantly, you have more obligations for time. Your job probably requires a little bit more, your kids have soccer, you're like, you know what I mean? And so it's seeing all of that. And dude, honestly, we've never brought this up on a conversation, but I'm just curious, what are your views on marriage and having kids? And what does, most importantly, start with, what's the timeline look like? Like, do you have a timeline? Are you...
So I want to make sure that I'm good first. I want to be retired before I'm 30 years old. And I want to make sure that I can take care of my kids. But when I'm 30, I want to have my first kid. I want to have 2 kids. I want to have a girl and a boy. I want to have the girl first. And then 3 years after that, I want to have the boy. So I want to have that. So by the time I'm 40 years old, the first one is going to be 10 years old. The other one is going to be 9 years old, or 7 years old. Yeah. And then I could travel with them. And I have 40 to 50 years old to live it up and do stuff like that with them. But I don't know, it really scares me. There's a part of me, it's like I don't want my kids to grow up in the generation that we're in with all this racist stuff going on, like people getting killed. And it just really scares me to have kids in this world. And especially knowing what I grew up in, like, you saw some stuff when you were growing up too, and like you did stuff as a kid too. Like I know what I did as a kid, like stupid stuff. So there's a part of me, it's like I don't know if I want to have kids, but I definitely want to like keep my generation going. And I definitely want to have kids. I want to have 2 kids, but it's something where like I want to make sure I'm fully able and capable of taking care of 2 human beings before bringing them into the world, because that's a big thing to handle.
Agreed. I think the same.
Yeah.
In the last 6 months, it's changed in the sense, like on a spiritual side of things, I'm open to everything, right? Like if that perfect person walked in the door, I ran into him, whatever life connection happens and we bump into each other, meet, it's there. Like I'm saying, anything's on the table, right? Because I used to just say this like concrete, no, I'm not even considering marriage or kids till after 30. Like there was no hard date. And very similar to you, it's like I want to make sure I'm in a position that I can give them the time. And so I know the lifestyle that I consider and what my work ethic is going to result in. And I want to make sure I'm there so I can give that time back and But freedom is the thing I value.
It's definitely like having the time and the freedom, but I want to make sure I have the education so I can properly educate my children on the things that I didn't know growing up. Like one of the biggest things I see that people do not know how to do nowadays is communication. And I was at my buddy's house the other day and I took a Snapchat. I sent him a video of his dog on the balcony. And there's like a little crack in our balconies at the building. And he called me. He's like, bro, get my fucking dog off the balcony right now. And what that immediately did is that made me angry. He's like saying, get my dog off the fucking balcony. I was like, bro, do not come at me with that negative tone in your voice and tell me to get your dog off the fucking balcony. Tell me, hey, Colt, do you think you can not let my dog on the balcony? I'd really appreciate it. I'm like, yeah, bro, for sure. I'll take him in right now. And that's what I didn't have growing up. Like, when I would get in trouble for school, my dad would take me into another room. He's like, I don't like how you're fucking doing in school. Like, your grades aren't good. You need to stop doing this stuff or, like, you're grounded. And I was like, I cannot relate to you in any way by you yelling at me and giving me this forceful energy. If you're like, Colt, like, I really don't like how your grades are going. Like, the biggest thing about communication is people don't understand where the other person is coming from an emotional standpoint. So them yelling at them is bringing their negative, angry emotions, and it's making you angry. Versus them saying, like, look, I went through school too, and I didn't have good grades. And I didn't like the way that it made me feel. I felt stupid when I had an F on my paper. Look, I just don't want you to go down that same road. I really do not want you to see that. Like, it would really make me happy. Like, do you think that you could just try a little bit harder in school? Maybe we could sit down at the end of the day for an hour and I could help you out with things you don't understand. Would that be okay? Kind of questioning, like, how can I help you? Like, would that be okay? Things like that. But versus people are just blaming all their problems on you like a goddamn dump truck. Like, people do not know how to communicate at all. And it's just like when it comes to, like, an argument, people are bringing all the things that have gone on in the past month and just dumping it on that person, bringing out all their anger. So one of the biggest things is, like, communication for me. Like, I would love to, like, teach that to my children if I had children, like, communication for sure.
What's the best way for anyone listening or watching? What's the best way to improve communicating, in your opinion, right now today?
So whenever there's, like, an argument, or if I'm, like, if there's an argument or something that's about to get heated, I will tell the person, look, we're both not in a good mood. Let me go outside for 30 minutes. I'm going to go for a walk and then we'll come back. Is that okay? Like, once an argument gets started, like, you're going back and forth at each other. Like, there needs someone, like, this is where you need to have, you need to have this conversation before things like that happen in the future and be like, yo, I didn't like how the argument happened last time. Do you think in the future, like, one of us can stop it and be like, look, we need 30 minutes away from each other and then we'll come back? Like, if something like that were to happen, so much communication would be so much better.
Is it okay if I add to that?
Yeah.
So I agree. And I think there's also a level of life and self-development, and it might tap into spirituality, that you're in control of your emotions. And then you start getting into what I would describe as presence, right? Mm-hmm. Presence being, like, you're coming from abundance and gratitude, knowing, like, damn, like, every second of my life, it's like I'm breathing. Like, I'm here, I'm hanging with friends, we're recording some content, hopefully it provides some value. Like, we're having fun, we're doing what we want, you know? And being able to, hopefully no one's mastered this, and especially not me,
yeah.
But it's the path that excites me in life, because I want to just show up. If someone brings that intensity, and this is something door knocking helped me out with a ton, because you have to match their energy. A lot of people, you know, there's going to be a good chunk of people that just are having a bad day. You walked up, knocked on their door at the most inconvenient time, and they have a lot of life things happening. When they bring that, you can't give that back, right? And so meditations help me immensely, and it's not like something where I think you just meditate one day or 7 days in a row. Like, yeah, that's awesome, and I recommend continuing. But it's taken it's been consistency for some time. It's a mix of things. And I think it's also just maturity. You know, I'm 27 now, and being able to control your emotions, I think, is, if we're going to say communication is foundational, I completely agree. And I think the skill set through communication to master is mastering your emotions. And in business and in investing and in trading and all these aspects, and just your friendships and your relationship with your significant other, not rising to their intensity, right? That's when you start hearing people, like, talk about vibration. Like, when you're at a certain level, it's hard for you to speak. You know, you've seen someone that's been going through like a panic attack or something, and like they're like you know, they're just like they're overthinking. They have anxiety to the max, and like to the point where they can't even speak, right? Like it's hard to understand. It's like, no, hey, we need to calm down, right? That's like an energy thing. It's just gotten to an out of control level where the breathing can't match. The body isn't like aligned, right? And on the flip side, someone that's really down and sad, and like there's a time, right? One of your closest friends could be going through a breakup, and like it's hurting him bad, and he's crying, and he's like, hey, you know, this is just shit. Like, why am I doing everything in life? And it's like there's both those levels. I'm starting to see why they talk about being present, right? Because then you meet in the middle, and all of a sudden it's not me being sad trying to meet someone with intensity, or the vice versa. That's the opposite of the spectrum. They're like polar opposites, right? There's polarity. But instead, if I'm in the middle, and this is very angry, and this is very sad, or there's other emotions attached, but if I'm here in the middle, it's a lot easier for them to communicate with me too.
How do people get there though in that middle?
I think that middle is, again, just being in control of your emotions and being able to read it. When you're one way you can plug a social seller is you're a congruent human. And when you work on yourself, and again, my belief is that the highest level of communication is you better damn work on yourself. Like I have so much more to do, but doing this after so long, it starts to compound, and I'm just touching it. I'm just experiencing where this new level of momentum, where it's been these things, it's the practices, right? But this is also the reason you and me are fortunate to get the occasional invites to very exclusive things, like to be around the people we look up to. And then there's like the top ones, and you going to Malibu and going to the island on the island, and like, you know, these are the people that, I don't know if you're familiar with shadow boats. We'll talk about that. That's the next level mega yachts. You have a boat for your supercars and helicopters that follows your mega yacht.
That's crazy.
And these types of people are like, what I'm realizing is there's this other factor now, and I just figured this out, like, it was enlightened to it in the last 6 months. I can communicate with them, and they see my passion and intensity for life. They're not looking at my college degree or what I learned in college, but my intelligence in regards to self-development, what I say when I speak. Because when you do certain types of work, you realize when people communicate, you can start to understand how their subconscious thinks too. Because when I start hearing someone start using the word can't, right? Like I rarely even say it. It feels weird saying it right now. That should be eliminated from the dictionary. And that a buddy had always taken that out. It just shouldn't. It doesn't exist. No, that doesn't exist. In a world where everything's possible, like take that out of your language, and then start taking out like these are just subtle ones, right? Right? You want to hear another subtle one that you can look up on? When people start talking and use the language like me and I, right? Me and I. It's singular. It's about me. And I know it sounds so minuscule, right? And the thing is the reason why I'm bringing this up is they just hit home for me because I was using this in my language so frequently, right? But whether it was content for the business, it was content for myself. When I started using, instead of me and I, it was us and we, and it was ours. It's never mine, even if it's mine, right? You could have 99% equity in the company and 1% is split amongst 2 other partners. Right, and you could say mine, and rightfully so. No one could disagree if they saw how your company was broken down. And my belief in this chase to become a better leader, like I know you want to be too, and looking up to influential leaders that are, some of them are guiding us. It's this level of it's we and us, because it's me. Selfishly, it's me speaking to myself and my subconscious. When I'm talking about we and us, I don't need the fame. I used to care about it way too much. Right? We'd have magazine articles or newspaper articles or be on a commercial or TV or something. And it was like, I loved, the praise that came with it, right? It feels good. You and me both like it. But now I look at it a little different. I can't let it control me. I still need to receive it because there's one aspect of receiving gifts and communication. But yeah, I think the higher level people respect it. And it's for some reason why you get the invite back. And they want to hang out with you again, or they start inviting you on trips. And I knew about these people like 3 years ago, and I didn't think I deserved to be at their table. And I was like, oh, well, nifty Conor could figure out how to leverage this network and get into the circle, right? And I didn't. And at this point, luckily, I was doing the self-development work and spirituality, and a big part of it is also having just full trust and faith in the universe and all the gods that life is happening for me, not against me. And when you truthfully have it, I was just like, for me, this is one of the big things I remember. Is just like, hey, it'll happen at the right time. That's how I view women. Like, it's how I view the business. I mean, there's an intensity with business, right? I'm a competitive person. But just know it's all happening for us, right? Like, I think of like a hand behind me, guiding me, pushing me. It's invisible, but it's always pushing me subtly forward in any direction I go. Versus I feel like people are getting it on their chest, pushing backwards. Like anything I try doesn't work.
Exactly.
My job sucks. My kids don't like me. Like I don't know what the list could be. I hope it speaks the truth, because you and me can only talk about it like this because we've dealt with it. We've felt it, and we still do.
Yeah, that's the thing, is so many people, they're looking at it like, oh my God, why is this happening to me? And it always brings them down. And it's like, it's the mindset, how you perceive anything. And like one of my buddies, he sent me a video the other day. It was on his close friends on Instagram. And he's like, I had a guest that checked into my Airbnb and they broke my washer. But he's like, do you know what? I'm not going to let that get to me. I'm not going to let it ruin my day. I'm going to think about the positive. And it's like the universe recognizes that. It's like if I go out and get drunk and party, there's another person that's in the same niche as me that's at home studying, getting ahead. And it's like, okay, is the universe going to reward me for fucking around and getting drunk knowing I shouldn't be doing that? Or is it going to reward the other person for working hard? And that's what a lot of people don't understand. It's like once you attract this negative mindset, it keeps coming at you with more and more negative stuff. Versus like, do you know what? Like, it's completely fine. Let me go out for a walk and it's going to be good. It's going to be okay. And a lot of people haven't understood that whole part. They haven't found themselves and they're just around negative people. Like when something bad happens in life, they're like, oh, let me drink about it. Like, let me drink and get over it or something like that. Versus saying, do you know what? Like, let me understand why this is happening to me. Let me understand why I got fired from my job. Let me understand why I'm in debt. They're just always finding the easy way out because no one wants to do it themselves. They want to blame someone else. And I used to do the same thing too when I was growing up. I'd always be like, who can I point the finger at? I don't want to go through it. It's too hard for me to do on my own.
Yep. Every aspect of life is always someone's fault. And I was really good at coming up with why it was their fault, not mine.
Yeah.
And then I also catch it myself. When you have presence, you can also identify and you start catching your own thoughts, right? Because that's how you're speaking to your subconscious. And it's like, I'll still catch myself at times. Like I'll come up with an excuse why I didn't complete something, and I'll come up with a good reason. Like, Conor, you know how much you value sleep. Like, it keeps you healthy. Like, that's what allows you to live whatever type of lifestyle you're trying to live. And it's like, oh, it can wait till tomorrow. But I know I created that deadline in my mind, or maybe I even told someone else. And it's like, how I do anything is how I do everything.
There's something that I love to say, and I like to say throughout the day, I like myself. Yeah. And when you say I like myself,
I love myself.
You smile. Like, if you're watching this right now, say, I like myself. Yeah. And you're going to smile. And once you smile, you're, like, putting yourself in a whole different mindset versus saying, I hate myself. Like, how many people have you heard say, I hate myself? I'm ugly. I'm stupid. Like,
I'm fat. That's
like, all right.
I look fat.
If that's what you say, you're making yourself believe that. I'm sexy. I'm so fucking handsome. I attract wealth. I attract success in my life. Everything that I touch turns to gold. There's like two ways of doing it. Like, I will shout out through my life, I am so thankful I'm alive. I am so thankful I'm healthy, I can breathe. Like, when I was super bad, I had pneumonia a couple weeks ago, and I was like, damn, like, I'm scared I might not be alive after this. Like, I thought I was going to die. Damn. Then I was like, you know what? I'm so happy and thankful I can breathe again. I'm so happy and thankful my health is restored. I'm good. I'm healthy. I can breathe perfectly fine. And that helps so damn much. Because a big thing with asthma is, like, it really comes from anxiety. And when you, like I suffer from asthma. I got it recently. But, like, when you have asthma and you think about the thought where you can't breathe, you're basically telling yourself you can't breathe. And, like, breathing is so natural. It's something we don't think about. But, like, when you can't breathe, you're like freaking out and, like, trying to breathe versus just, like, I'm good. I can breathe perfectly fine. And don't think about it. Put your thought on something else. Same thing in life. If you want to be successful, tell yourself you're going to be successful.
And start acting like it. Mimic the people that are successful. What are they doing? A lot of times you start figuring out patterns. It seems like they wake up early. It seems like they work out. It seems like they usually eat pretty healthy. It seems like they treat people well. It seems like they live a pretty congruent life.
It all starts and ends with you. Mm-hmm. Because when you go to sleep tonight, who's in your bed with you? You, right? Yeah. When you wake up, who's going to be there? You. Yeah. But a lot of people, like, they're dependent upon another person. Yep. And it's all starts and ends with you, like, real talk. It really does.
I love it. I love it. You put me on the spot indirectly. Thank you, brother. No, in wrapping this up, because I know Oscar's got to shoot and you have to get back to trading, but getting, over an hour of your time and get back to Metro, dude. He's never been this chill. Like, I've never seen him this chill.
He's fine.
I love that he sleeps with his face straight down. Like, nose in the couch. Metro.
Can you breathe, bro? Is he alive?
His eyes are open. Metro.
He's dreaming about running.
You're a good prop, dude. Well, anyway, we want to thank you for tuning in. And for anyone that wants to get connected with Colt, what's the best place?
My Instagram handle should be below, right here where you guys can add it.
And reach out, DM. You'll see his content. Awesome dude. Someone I've been able to know.
Guys.
And someone I get advice from, and you've helped me make a good amount of money.
You've done a lot for me, bro.
Thank you. Dude, that's the beauty. The social seller. Give love, right? Come from abundance, and it always comes back. Thank you. Every Tuesday at 9 a.m., the new episode drops on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. And then to keep these going, we would greatly appreciate any more topics or guests, especially here in Southern California, because we are committed to doing the first 25 episodes in person. We have some incredible guests coming up that I think are going to surprise some people. I know I was surprised to get responses, but that's the level of value and authenticity we're trying to bring here. We will see you on the inside.
Let's go.
Boom.